It was like Bushman of the Kalahari clicks.
Yeah, I was like, oh, they're like, okay, yeah.
Welcome to another episode of the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker on this May 18th, 2022, and half the month is over, heading towards the end of the school year for many people. And we have a brand new client here at the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. And our client for today is, are you ready for alien sex?
Behold, trapped in a hellscape of their own invention, socially unaware old white men bound by the pretense of being fake lawyers yet knowing no law, no exquisite Latin terminology, they are inexplicably compelled to quibble over minutia, squabble over triflings, and bicker like those who value their backyards far too highly without even knowing the difference between an easement and an alleyway. At this very moment, you have entered the heart of the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. Let's get started.
Since 1952, Focus Assurance has been providing you with absolutely nothing for over a generation. Bupkis Insurance gives peace of mind that you pay for or should have health coverage. But you have Bupkis Insurance, which, as you know, is a good deal less than that because, well, it's Bupkis. You're really paying for a feeling that you've grown up because you have insurance. I mean, what sort of idiot doesn't have health insurance? Certainly not you. You pay a monthly bill to Bupkis Insurance, so when the time comes, you can tell the nurse in ER, yes, ma'am, I'm insured. I have Bupkis. Of course, later when you get the bill, you realize Bupkis was covered on your recent emergency visit. Bupkis Insurance. Damn, it's right there in the name.
So basically, you get nothing for your insurance.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
No, you get peace of mind.
Well,
Yeah.
it could be like the Republican insurance plan, which is, just don't get sick.
Yeah.
Anyway, so why don't we you guys go get to talking. I'll start things off in terms of like why we're doing this, but so everybody
Why
knows,
are we doing this?
because there has been
Because
hearings.
UFOs are in the media.
There have been hearings for, well, I'll just go from this article. Top defense official says government received about 400 reports of UFOs, and there's also something else called UAPs, where they have like 100 reports of those as well, which are unexplained aerial phenomena, which is kind of like if you talk to Greg for a while, there's stuff that comes out of his mouth, which is sometimes a UAP, and you're like, I don't know quite, was that spittle or was that food? I'm not quite sure, but
Or haka.
unexplained aerial phenomena coming out of his mouth. But now the Department of Defense has said that they've had 144 reports from their own people, and 143 of those are unexplained. So, but there have been no collisions with any of these unidentified objects or phenomena.
What about collusions?
Yeah, non-existing phenomena. Is that? That's why there's no collisions, because they're not there. So
Well, no, they see something, like they see spheres or they see objects, but they don't know what they are. They can't define what they are, Greg.
I see pink elephants when I'm drunk.
Well, according to you, you saw the inside of your bathtub while you were sleeping. And that's why you have a giant shiner on your eyeball right now.
No, this is actually my new fight club. I just joined a fight club.
Brendan, why don't you talk to him about that, and I will be back in a couple minutes.
All right.
Yeah, so I was telling Matt earlier that I never liked UFOs, the term unidentified flying object, because late at night I see a red light high up in the sky. I can identify it. It's a flying object. Yeah, it's a fucking TWA flight to Hawaii, but I just can't identify it just because, it's a red light. But obviously it's a fucking plane or something. So the whole idea of UFOs, just that term, was maybe I'm a stickler or a quibbler. But I was like, there's a lot of things
that's a heavy semantic quibbling to write off an entire subject based on the use of unidentified.
I can't identify most car models. So it's like, I'm not going to go to the highway and be like, oh, unidentified driving object. Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, but if an unidentified flying object in this case is something that is moving around, that's measurable, that people have pictures of or videos or whatever, eyewitness accounts, that something is doing something that is, outside of what a fucking plane looks like, who's flying from, Tampa to Portland. I mean,
Yeah, I get it. Like, there's been those
the weird, you know, like the
UFOs.
little lights that jump around, and I mean,
Yeah. But I'm just saying, I never liked the term because almost everything in the sky is an unidentified flying object, unless you're like an expert in aircraft. And like, oh yeah, that's a Boeing 729. Shwana shwana.
I mean, yeah, terms are terms. I never liked, you know, global warming as a term. I thought that was stupid. I was like,
Well, I
why?
think they changed it because they realized that some areas are going to get colder during this
Right,
change.
right, yeah. So that was a dumb one. And the whole pro-life, pro-choice.
Yeah, that was it. Or what about Black Lives Matter? What stupid branding was that? It was like they just played in the hands of, yeah, everyone could say, well, all lives matter. It was
Yeah,
stupid. It was, they should have just said, stop killing us. How could you argue with that? How could Tucker Carlson be like, oh, stop killing us? Oh, yeah, maybe we should stop killing black people. He couldn't really make a joke about it.
yeah. Well, you know, it had a certain, I don't know, you know, and a certain hey, hey, ho, ho, these rotten cops have got to go vibe to it that people fell in love with.
Oh, speaking of which, defund the police. How stupid is that one?
Yeah, that's a tough sell in a lot of places, and the places where they're like, defund the police. Yeah, bitches, defund the police. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. It's a bad look.
Yeah, I know the reasoning behind it, but you have to read a whole article about what they're talking about. It's like, oh, okay, I get it. To spend less money on police and buying them tanks and spending more money in community, there'll be less crime. But your saying doesn't really say that. It basically just says, hey, the cops are on their own. No, the cops are going to have to use BB guns to fight crime.
Makes you think maybe, just maybe, that was done by design.
Could be like an infiltrator in the Antifa liberal conspiracy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, why not take the idea, meaning the real idea, like you said, of, you know, just redirecting money and spending less on tanks and Kevlar and machine guns and more on cops on the ground, getting to know neighborhoods and shit like that. One, that's tough to, it's not defund the, but anyway, who's to say that somebody didn't take that idea and go, oh, fuck that, we can't have that. So let's take this stupid name called defund the police, attach it to this really cool idea, and then when it fails, everybody goes, see, we're gonna have to keep buying guns and tanks.
And tanks.
You silly poor people.
Have you ever seen a UFO? Like a really crazy one that's like no plane could do that, but I just saw it.
No, I've always wanted to, and
Me too.
Never had the opportunity. I've interviewed, dozens of people who were abducted. So some of them, I was like, so you passed out drunk in front of the television and had a weird fucking drink. Okay. And then some of them had such a hard time talking about it. Like you could tell it was like talking about some, you know, and then Uncle Steve came back to the bedroom. You know, it was like that level of shit. I'm like, oh, I don't know what this is, but that wasn't that joker that I just got off the phone with who's like, yeah. And so we floated into the light, you know, so I think it's all over the place.
I heard you say something about ducks.
Eating ducks or ducks?
You said a duck was involved with one of these stories.
I don't think so.
No.
I wish I had some duck now. That sounds good though. Love duck. So Matt, have you ever seen a UFO? Like by UFO, I mean like something that did something that no earthly flying thing could do.
Nah, because I figure if I look up in the sky and I see Superman flying around, then I don't really want to have an explanation. You know, I'd rather.
So you have seen that?
No, I've seen nothing. I mean,
okay.
The fact is that I personally don't believe in UFOs or. I mean, I believe that there are unidentified flying objects. I believe that there is unexplained aerial phenomena. I don't believe that they're necessarily from outer space or from other cultures or other planets.
It's marsh gas.
I mean, it's possible, kind of like it reminded me of there's a band called Alien Ant Farm, And I never really thought about the name of the band until just like the last 2 days, where I was thinking, oh, the name Alien Ant Farm would be like if we were an ant farm for aliens, they're looking in on us, and so we wouldn't necessarily be able to recognize what they are per se. You know, and sometimes things happen in our environment we can't tell. So, you know, if aliens are like millions of miles high, we wouldn't necessarily recognize their existence and their consistency, I suppose, because maybe
think you would.
they move too. Maybe that's what mountains are, Greg. Maybe they are our overseers.
Could be,
and we don't know.
But I think I've talked about this on the podcast before. I always thought UFOs just didn't make sense because I can't picture us, for example, going across millions of galaxies to find another sentient planet with sentient life, and just like not doing shit for 50 years, like mutilating a few cows, probing a few hillbillies. Like, no, we'd either conquer them, or if they were stronger than us, we'd just be like, well, maybe we'll like talk to them. And like, what the hell are these UFOs doing since 1950? Just buzzing around, freaking people out.
Well, it's longer than 1950. Remember the book Chariots of the Gods?
Oh yeah, I guess in the Bible there's supposedly a cigar-shaped flaming thing was in the sky. But I'm saying that's when it became a big thing. Yeah. And we have the science, the technology to see these UFOs if we wanted to. If they were really popping up, we could videotape them all the time. And I know there's videos of crazy shit. But why are these UFOs not doing anything? Like just saying, hey, we're here. If they're probably stronger than us to go across all these galaxies. They could probably kick our asses and just take us over.
But what if it is more of an observational thing, Greg? What if it is like we're just an ant farm and they don't need to take us over because they're so much more powerful than us that we couldn't affect them in any way?
I think they'd still want our shit. I think that's a universal constant.
Do you want to take anthills and keep them for your own?
If they had water or something I needed, sure. If there's a gold.
But what if you don't need it? What if you don't need anything the ant?
If there was a $100 bill at the bottom of the ant farm, I'd crack the ant farm open.
I don't need water. I don't need gold.
Is this a Neil Young song?
I was expecting that to be some kind of a song he was creating. By the way, everybody, Brendan is a cryptid today. He is actually both Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster on the
he's
podcast.
A poltergeist.
He's a poltergeist? That's where the duck thing came from. That's right. You said abducted. That's what the word was. I thought I heard duck, but it's abducted.
They were abducts. You know, like
they're like not normal ducks. Right?
They were abducts. Yeah.
And why do they only probe people who were like drunk in Arkansas? Why don't they ever probe like I don't know,
like what?
Jimmy Carter or someone?
How do you know they didn't?
Well, he would have told us. He would probably been on the news.
They were saying in this article that they've been getting more reports because there's less of a stigma for people to say these reports exist. So they get them from a lot more less hillbilly-like individuals. What?
That is not true. It's because the internet has made everyone crazy. And now people think that the earth is flat and UFOs are real. And
the internet did not make people crazy. They were already crazy.
It accentuated it because people said, hey, people believe like I believe. All over the world, there's 50 guys who think this crazy.
But if you're watching radar and a U.S. Navy pilot tracking a device he uses to track missiles, and he's like, this doesn't make any sense. That's not real hillbilly.
Could it be a radar malfunction, though?
I think Greg is suggesting it's a radar hillbilly.
All of the times it's a radar malfunction. All the upcoming reports and video confirmation, watching it do the thing. These people are trained to understand what's happening with shit. You know
they never get probed. That Air Force guy doesn't get probed by the alien. He just sees something weird.
Well, the probing thing is probably just some hillbilly bullshit. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about there's these things that are unexplainable, and they're unexplainable based on science. In terms of how things work, engineering-wise, they don't make sense.
The theory behind hillbillies getting probed all the time is because a bunch of hillbillies are really lonely. They get really drunk and they fuck each other up the ass. They cornhole each other, and the next day they've got to come up with some crazy mass delusion, like, "Oh no, it wasn't. My ass hurts for some reason. It wasn't that. It wasn't like me and Billy Bob got down." We were probed by aliens.
That's quite the theory, Greg.
I've heard this.
What do you
theory
call it when it's like he's white, but he's being kind of white racist about a certain type of white person? Is that still racist?
It's called self-hating.
Yeah, self-hating.
But I mean, if he's going to pick on some southern quote unquote hillbilly because he was raised in New York where everybody's their asses so tight they know what the fuck's going on.
It's elitism, Brendan, is what.
Yes,
it is.
It is true.
That's
I've
an elitist
seen documentaries about this. How like you can be hateful towards hillbillies as you want. Everyone can. It's like the last thing where it's okay to just be like, somebody can say something stupid and be like, God, you sound like a fucking hillbilly. But if
Except there are some incredibly intelligent hillbillies in this world. And many of them moved out of the hills and they went on to do other things with their lives.
Eli Whitney.
Okay.
Ernest T. Tubbs. Boxcar Willie.
He lived in the South, Eli Whitney. I don't know if he was the hillbilly.
Well, I'm just saying there's plenty of people who have left the hills and they've gone and done other things with their lives as opposed to staying and just making moonshine.
Yeah, Jim Beam.
They ran from the hills. Or did they run to the hills?
They ran from the hills. Or they walked from the hills. They got on a train or something and left the hills in some way.
They skipped.
Yeah, or they joined the military or something, and then they went and
I
saw
do apologize
UFOs.
to all the hillbillies. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, because they could be major listeners to our podcast, as far as we know.
I'm just saying,
What are you
Thank
saying?
you for your cornpone.
Leave the hillbillies alone.
That
They're
Greg
good
is a
people.
judgmental elitist who likes to put other people down to make his life feel better.
It doesn't make me feel better.
And it doesn't make you feel better. It's kind of like racist, but it's like
It is.
I don't know. It's classist or regionalist or we're all people. It's poor people versus rich people. That's it. Fuck aliens.
Except Greg is poor.
I know that's the endearing part of the whole
downwardly mobile though.
bullshit. Is that he's poor too, and he's making fun of poor people that just have an accent and grew up differently.
Well, they're ignorant. They're ignoramuses.
Their ignorant comes from the guy who doesn't read anything in the news. So they're ignorant.
Bullshit. I read important shit like comic books.
Is that where you get your news from, Greg? From comic books?
Yeah. I just heard that someone saw Superman flying in the sky. Oh, that was you.
That's right. It's true. It came from another source, so it definitely makes it true.
Yeah.
Well, the client for today is, are you ready for alien sex? So that basically comes from the concept of if aliens, UFOs, are finally proliferating in mass quantities in our atmosphere.
Will we fuck them?
And are preparing to land, will we do that or will they do it to us? So that is a real question. And what will that look like?
Are you talking about top and bottom?
I'm talking about whatever it could be. Imagine, do you remember the movie Fifth Element? And there was the singing woman with the tentacles coming out of her head.
Fucked her. Oh, I would have fucked her.
But what could she have done to you?
Oh, who knows? She could have like a triple dong vaginal matrix in between her legs.
Vaginal?
What?
A vaginal penal mashup.
Vaginal? Penal?
Just add words. Gonorrhea. Foreskin.
What? What are you talking about?
That great 70s cartoonist B. Cobain used to have these just nonsense like strips called just interstellar genitalia. And he would just draw all these random genitalia of aliens, corkscrews and bizarre shit. And think about all the fun you could have with aliens. Like they'd have crazy genitalia that might be thrilling and arousing.
No, but what would be the chance that they would develop? That's a piss poor system if you think about it. That from just a reproductive biology perspective, the way we do it.
You couldn't reproduce. But what about
I know, but I'm just saying they would develop something completely different. You know what I mean? Like they rub their eyes together or some crazy shit.
And maybe that would be hot. Maybe we'd want to get down with that. And be like, ooh, I just
eye jizz, man. I have a thing about my eyes. I wouldn't want to do eye sex. No.
Think how many kinks there are in this world, like perversions and like, gerbil piping and scat.
Oh, he's back to the gerbils again.
I just using an example of the crazy things that people do to get off. Maybe there'd be a lot of people would be like, "Ooh, that sounds interesting." That interstellar sex technique.
Well, I think it just depends upon what their anatomy is like and if they actually have sex. It could be that aliens may only reproduce through mitosis.
Well, I once fucked a bag of
they just split into two different creatures at a certain time, and
that's super more efficient. I mean, I can tell you the whole. Yeah, male, female. Then you get together, and then you plan a life, and then you have kids. And no, I'm just kidding. Anyway, yeah, who's to
and your
say
kids are just you?
Yeah, if everybody just splits and like, oh, hello, yeah, that sounds a lot easier.
And if they attempt to do that on humans, and they go, well, let's just show you how we do it on your body, and then they just split you in two, and then they realize that
that wouldn't work.
That doesn't cause any reproduction at all.
That's not hot.
No,
it's just messy and bloody.
What was that? The movie with what was it? Galaxy Quest? Did we talk about this? With the aliens, they were like squids.
Oh yeah, right.
And then the one squid was kind of getting it on with the engineer guy. And there was that scene where like the tentacles like wrap it up, and then the guy's like, "Oh, I don't know, tentacles might be kind of cool.
Yeah,
I might be okay with tentacles.
A tentacle job.
I wouldn't do odd things.
I think they came from the planet Squingili 9. The squid creatures.
Squidgilly?
Squingili 9.
How do you spell that word?
It's in the vegan system.
Okay.
Squungeli. Squingili.
It's right.
It's where he gets his bolognese sauce from.
I know. I was going right. I was like trying to work that in somehow.
That's right. The Italian solar system that all the Italians come from.
I want to go there.
They all fly out in their own alien helicopters. And what sounds do those helicopters make, Greg?
Like a wop too. Wop 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 wop.
There you go. I thought it'd be better if I let you say it. So I'm not Italian.
That word. You can't.
So the sound alien helicopters make, the alien Italian helicopters.
Maybe I can make fun of hillbillies because I have some hillbilly blood by Italian relatives. We hung out with some Italian cousins. They were hillbillies. I don't know what they call them in Italy, but they were just rednecks.
Yeah.
They lived in the city, but they were just white trash.
Do they have similar accents to the people that you're making fun of here?
I don't know because I didn't know Italian, so I couldn't really tell. That sounds different than the other Italian.
Yeah.
But they were kind of white trashy.
Well,
hey, I come from a long line of white trash, so that's why I get a little offended with the hillbilly comments.
Well, the fact is that I probably should be the most offended because the fact is that on my dad's side of the family, they are hillbillies.
They eat squirrel.
They were from the hills of Tennessee. My dad was a hillbilly, and
born and raised Rocky Top,
raised in Tennessee. They killed what they ate. There wasn't really any grocery stores around. They literally didn't even have a road that went to their house. I remember.
That's punk rock, man. I mad respect.
I don't know that I would call it punk rock so much as just being hillbilly.
Poverty.
That's right. Exactly.
Well, yeah, but it's
raised in a one-room
but
home.
You're a badass. I'm saying you're a poor badass.
Yeah,
you can be a poor lazy fuck.
Well, I certainly learned some things. Last time I visited my father earlier last year, where I think I told this story before, where he said that he had to go take food to his father because his father was in jail for stabbing his brother in the neck with a fork or a knife. It was a fork or a knife. I can't remember now. And I never knew this story before, that my dad had to visit his father in jail. And I'm going, what did I miss when he left Tennessee? I'm like, what? Yeah. What would my life have been like if he had never gotten out of the hills of Tennessee? Obviously he probably would have married someone different, so I would have a different body in some way, I suppose.
Well,
but
this is your dad. He got out of there because you joined the Navy?
yeah, exactly. He got out at like as soon as he possibly could. When he was 18, he joined the Navy's enlisted man. And then while he was enlisted, they talked to him about the Naval Academy, which he had never heard of before. And he was able to get himself to the Naval Academy, and so he then was able to become an officer because of that. So
your dad was one of the good hillbillies, one of the good ones.
Good call.
yeah, well, I mean, he and one of his brothers did the same thing, joined the Marines and got out of there too. So others stuck around. A couple of them became cops. I remember one of my uncles, when I was visiting there, came out with a jar filled to the brim with homemade moonshine. And then they went off to the back and started firing off pistols in the backyard at something. I don't know what they were firing off, but yeah, my dad was raised as a hunter.
Raccoons.
Jews?
Raccoons.
Not Jews.
Yeah, Jews, maybe.
Martyrs?
I don't know what neighborhood you were in. Wait a minute, he is Jewish, you idiot. They were
I know,
shooting at each other?
And I don't know if my dad ever... I would imagine that he must have told his family that he converted to Judaism so that he could marry my mom. So I don't know how that went over. I do know that my grandmother was not necessarily a fan of those of the elder race.
The elders of Zion?
Yeah. What elder race?
The Jewish race, the Semitic race.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
The H.P. Lovecraft elder gods.
That's right. That's actually my ancestry. My ancestry is Cthulian. And that's where the true alien sex comes from. This comes from Cthulhu and his interesting and strange ways. Actually, I wonder if anybody knows if they're pronouncing that word correctly or not. Like, did Lovecraft ever leave a pronunciation guide anywhere?
Either. I wonder.
I swear to you, I watched some dumb video, and
I believe you that you watched the dumb video. You don't have to swear about that at all.
Many of them, but I saw the one where they said this is how we meant it, and it certainly wasn't the way I had always said it, which is Cthulhu. It was like, you know, I'm like, no one's gonna say that, asshole.
It was like Bushman of the Kalahari. Clicks.
Yeah, I was like, oh, yeah. They're like, okay, yeah. But one of the things was, I think Lovecraft said that you couldn't say it, you know, with the human vocal cords. So of course we would make up our own word.
By the way,
so
we have 100 likes on TikTok right now and 0 viewers. So.
Well, people like...
We were popular for a moment, and then they disappeared. By the way, Happy Hour News Team says, if you want to read something that will tie into Alien Ant Farm, read Under the Dome by Stephen King. Well, thank you for the extra research, you bastards. Well, we're going to be doing that right now while we're doing the podcast. I mean, I appreciate your interest in telling us about reading Under the Dome from Stephen King. But right now, Brendan is under a dome. As if he were underwater, he kind of looks like... he would be.
He's like our goldfish.
Actually, I just realized that Brendan is Aquaman.
I am Aquaman. God damn it!
If the movie had really bad cinematography, drunken cameraman,
Aquaman.
He's a very handsome man. I'll just say that.
Yeah, he's got some good pecs on him.
That helps with the alien sex.
You know what I would think would the aliens I would like to fuck the most, and I was embarrassed. Say this. I never finished the movie, but when I was donating plasma, they would show little bits of movies, and I'd miss the end. But those blue-skinned aliens in Avatar, I was like getting a little agitated below the belt, if you know what I mean.
You're getting agitated
they were hot.
From the cartoons on Avatar?
Yeah, the CGI blue-skinned. They were like Amazon women. They were just all live, 8 feet tall.
So do you have a thing for female basketball players too, Greg?
No, I never really did until I saw Avatar.
They had that whole like horse face or deer face, or it was a little too furry for me. I don't think. No.
Well, I think Greg is more.
Do this.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'd rather do the Squid Girl from Galaxy Quest.
Oh, but not Fifth Element.
The Fifth Element. What are you talking about?
Fifth Element, the singer had like these tentacles coming out of her hair.
And that's
her
not
head.
what I was talking about. I'm talking about remember when they went to the planet and it wasn't fake and they thought it was fake?
Oh, Galaxy Quest is like they had.
And it was the girl.
They had human bodies.
They had human fake, but then she was really a squid. That's what I was talking about. Not to go from Fifth Element.
Got it. And so you would do that before doing whatever we were just talking about. Which
I don't even remember anymore. A slug, I guess.
I can't recall.
What about like a hut?
That was hard.
A hut would be hard to have sex with.
A what?
You could just find a fold.
As in
hut?
Jabba the Hutt.
Oh, I thought you just meant like an actual hut.
Well, that would be hard too.
Or a tent. Like have sex with a tent, Greg.
What about a yurt?
A yurt, right?
I think there was a guy in scout camp that actually did have sex with the tent.
I mean, I told you guys I fucked pizza dough once. I could fuck a tent.
Yeah,
No,
you know,
like
and the fact was is that
row.
you brought that up recently, and we had gone months and months without having to hear that story, and now it's coming back a little too frequently, Greg.
Well, people on TikTok seem to like it, I've heard.
I don't think anyone likes
There's
that
a
story.
big subgroup about pizza
I don't
dough
think
fuck.
that anyone thinks well of you after you tell that story.
Well, they don't think well of
It's a
me,
good
but
thing
they're-
on TikTok they can't hear him.
they're
Greg's
intrigued.
next movie is American Pizza Pie.
On TikTok, no one can hear anybody but Matt.
That's pretty true. And it doesn't matter because, again, we've got no viewers at the moment. But we do have our friends from the Half Hour News team on YouTube saying it's a great book if you're a reader. But what if you're
I read.
easy reader?
You know what I did?
Oh.
Even because of like we were saying, well, I was saying how there's a perversion on Earth for every kink. I think those aliens, those H.R. Geiger aliens from Alien, there'd even be people who fetishize those scary motherfuckers.
H.R. Geiger aliens from Alien? What are you saying, Greg?
The movie Alien, those
Yeah.
creatures were created by H.R. Geiger, the famous artist.
Oh,
followed
H.R.
him up
Geiger
to that
is a-
point,
He
and then
made
he
that
said
movie.
people who fetish that. What?
I'm sure there'd be like 1,000 people on Earth who are like, oh, I want to fuck that thing. Even though it's terrifying and it's this big half machine fucking thing, there'd be people who would get aroused by it.
Wait, what's half of a machine?
Those aliens are kind of they're almost machine organic.
No,
They
they're
kinda
not
look like
machine.
machine-
They don't have any machine
I know, but they
qualities
look
to them.
like it. H.R. Geiger, that was his whole style. He drew things that
Well,
were
that's fine that that's his style, but that's not what they didn't look like machines, Greg.
Well, he designed them to look like that. They look almost like
He
this,
designed them to look like they look, but they're not looking like machines.
but they almost do look like. There's parts of their bodies that almost
In
look
your
like
mind, they do, but they don't.
Well, I'm just saying this is how everyone has described his art. He's known for this.
Good, but that's just
Yeah.
your opinion. But I'm saying that they don't look like machines. They look like
Well, maybe we
alien
differ with
creatures.
you, and it doesn't really matter. They're still
Only
terrifying.
people who are trying to like put forth that particular theory
And
and
which
prove
they
it
have
to make
before.
themselves
Or
right.
Alternatively,
I
the
didn't
people
make
that
the
are putting
theory up,
forth the
it's just
theory
what
that it doesn't
they've-
look like machines.
They've always
So you're
described,
both in your own little weird fucking cults, and let's just move on.
even if they didn't look like machines, they're scary as fuck.
You're absolutely no fun, Brendan.
I bet you there'd be so many
I am
people.
so over this kind of bullshit. I can't even stand it.
Do you really doubt there'd be people who would want to fuck those things? They would be.
Oh no,
You don't-
100% sure. I bet there's some deep web thing where somebody's dressed up like one of those things and getting anal raped. I'm sure it happens. I don't
That's all I wanted to say. Who cares about a half machine shit? Forget about that.
Well, just
That
it
was the
seemed,
point I
it
was
seemed
trying
like
to
you did. That's all.
No, I just said because they
somebody
do look like
did.
That's what makes them
I
so
don't know
creepy.
if it was you or Matt, but
H.R.
somebody
Geiger's art
did.
is so creepy because he mixes biology with almost machine-like part. Like they look almost like machines, and that's what's so creepy about them.
What I liked about the xenomorphs in the Alien movies was that they had that extra mouth that came out of it, which they
Yeah.
could do very interesting things with in a sexual way. It makes you kind of wonder, like, those alien creatures, like, how did they actually have sex, the ones from those movies?
Yeah, I don't
Because
know.
they had eggs,
think-
so is it like a cloaca type of thing?
I think it was a cloaca thing, and because they were more of a bug kind of deal, and because they had the queen and she was laying the eggs,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I think most of them they were more like wasp. than anything. That's
Yeah.
probably the closest I can say.
Yeah, which
They weren't ants. They weren't building giant colonies. Like I have this big wasp. It started off cute, like it was this. Now it's like the size of like a grapefruit, and I'm like, Holly, let me go kill those damn things. Anyway,
I think the xenomorphs are probably the end of evolution for cockroaches. In other words, that's where cockroaches eventually become. They become the aliens from Alien.
No, it's definitely wasps. Wasps are the ones that insert their larvae into people, and then they bust out of their backside of their brain. That's a wasp.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I forgot about that part of the reproductive aspect of those creatures. But how do they do that if there weren't humans around for them to impregnate with their bodies? Do they do them with each other, or how does...
or any alien? It doesn't have to be humans. Any biological creature.
Right, but if they came from their own planet, what were they doing that into? What were they?
Whatever they had there.
You like they had like alien cows or something that they did that to?
Yeah,
and that they
space
use those
cows.
as
Well,
hosts. Space cows. Did the space cows fly
Maybe
over the moon?
Cows.
Did they fly over the moon?
they could have. I don't know. I'm not an expert, but they could.
Did they have
I
space forks and space spoons that ran away with them?
What the
Laser. No, they were laser spoons.
Laser spoons. Oh, I'm gonna have fun editing this one later.
Boo, 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 boo. I'm just giving in. Boo. I don't know what we're talking. Boo.
Oh, it's just I went nursery rhyme, Brendan. That's what happened. Is I just started. We had space cows, and then I thought of the cow jumping over the moon, and then the fork ran or the dish ran away with the spoon or something. And so there was space spoons, space dishes, which of course were used on the spaceship in the Alien movies. But anyway, you'd think that those alien creatures had been, since they had been locked away in space for so long, that maybe they would have wanted to have sex with the people that were on that particular spaceship. Maybe they were looking at them not necessarily in an evil way, because I don't know that they were necessarily evil. They were just trying to survive. They were looking at them more as a way to get their rocks off, possibly.
We're still talking about 1979 Alien.
Yes. Okay. Well, at least. Do you have something else? You can certainly contribute something else, Brendan.
I was just making sure I knew what the reference was to the aliens, because we kind of went out of this commercial break about I don't even remember what. Back to this. So, the nursery rhyme, and so here we are. Okay,
The nursery rhyme was a commercial break.
What about the
felt like
monoliths from 2001? The big black monoliths. You think
fuck the
people wanna
monkeys.
fuck
That's
that?
all I gotta say.
So
I
the
mean, all the
monoliths had sex with the monkeys.
No,
Yes.
I wonder how many people would be aroused by that. There's probably some people on Earth who'd be like, I want to fuck that big black monolith.
These sound like people Greg, is what I'm starting to get the feeling
Really?
is that like all of these people you're bringing up are friends of yours in some way.
No, it's that thing like, I have a friend who has this problem. It's me, Matt. I want to fuck all these things.
Now it all makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Imagine the face hugger from Alien if it was on your crotch, though. That's probably some good suction. A face hugger thing that.
Well, no, it would be acting like a catheter.
Yeah, it's sticking things down in there. You'd have to. It'd have to be stuck on your bottom, dude.
Oh yeah.
No.
Get you from the back there, Greg. You'd have a different kind of piping than your normal thing.
An ass hugger.
Too big, too thick. Because it was going down no.
Although they could make that into definitely a pant design for people to wear, if they went from the back.
Yeah, a face hugger on your ass, an ass hugger.
Right.
What about ETs? From the movie ET. Like, can you picture those little nasty little things fucking?
Oh yeah,
the finger. They use the finger. That's how they had sex. They just used the little finger.
Turn on your heart light.
It seems like it would be. It would be like watching babies fuck. They're so childlike. It's kind of gross.
I've seen that movie several times. I never got baby out of what E.T. looked like.
Well, he's childlike. He seems like a very childlike creature. He doesn't seem like an adult, really, to me.
It was like a childlike machine, maybe.
Well, in real life, he was a machine, but I'm saying I didn't think he was a machine. But he's just
Well, I mean, I guess I can see the childlike, but so was Yoda.
Yeah, that's true.
So are we hypersexualizing old people in that regard?
Yeah, and old babies.
Old baby
Senior
people.
citizen babies.
And Greg,
But I
just for you, Sanchez Eldorado says the Geiger originals had hoses and pipes in the drawings for the movie.
Yeah, I told
But
you.
that doesn't
He's
mean
not-
hoses and pipes in the aliens
I'm
themselves.
just saying Geiger was known for that. I didn't make it up. Geiger was known
Well,
for
I
that.
think maybe in the overall art and architecture in the background, but not the creatures themselves.
I was
I
thought
can't
that
believe we're back to this.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm very sorry, Brendan. I apologize profusely
I just wish all
for
the
Sanchez putting that into the comments.
I just wish all the aliens were like Star Trek Lost in Space aliens, where they were basically hot girls with some green face paint or an antenna, but they were still fucking Playboy bunnies. And it's
Lost
like,
in
yeah,
Space or Star Trek?
both.
Oh,
They-
okay.
A lot of the alien women,
Oh.
that would, try
What
to
about-
seduce Zachariah Smith and or William Shatner. They were just like hot women with some goofy thing, like she's got a weird thing coming out of her head.
Yeah, what about in Guardians of the Galaxy, the bug girl, the like mantis empath girl?
But what about Gamora? Gamora's hot.
No,
No?
I wasn't into her. I was more about the little bug girl.
Yeah, she reminded me of one of those like
Wait a
animated
second.
movies like Bug's Life or
Is it because she
Yeah.
looked Asian, Brendan? What made her more
is she
attractive
Asian
to
in
you?
real life? That woman?
She looks Asian.
Well, I can't tell. She's so bugged out.
I don't know. Maybe it was an anime. I don't know. You're trying to get me to dig into whatever that kink was. I'm just
Yes,
sharing.
let's go into your psyche, Brendan, of the type
know,
of
maybe-
alien that you want to have sex with.
Yeah, maybe she had a certain Asian vibe to her. I mean, I'm not being racist. I'm just saying you asked.
Right.
her.
I'm not saying that you are either. I mean,
What about those like three little tiny women?
But she had those like
Gamma.
eyes, and then she had those like all those smooth tentacles, and then wasn't she some sort of like empath? I don't know.
like
she just seemed
tentacles or
like
antenna?
antenna? That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
was
think they, like,
thinking tentacles
actually-
for-
Can become erect at sometimes. They like grow.
Yeah, they kind of moved around, you know.
Yeah,
And
that
she's
could
like,
tickle your
"Ooh,
prostate really good.
I feel something, you know. Was Gamora was like, I don't want to fight you right now, sweetheart. You know, no, go away.
Yeah, it would just be an argument. It would be like a fight to the death, where it's like, oh, I feel
Yeah,
Well,
I
and
know
then there
what
was
that's like.
Gamora's sister, which was kind of like a half machine, or
Yeah, she was. She was like,
she had lots of like interchangeable parts, which you could use for like different toys if you wanted to. She could like take off her hand and put something on it that might do your
French
prostate
tip her.
proud. Right. You could add like a
can see a bit of-
sander.
I can see a bit of that with her.
Yeah. Could have been that. But you know, this is a good time to move into our cooking segment, because we have a little bit of a lull in the conversation. So why don't we get Waspy here? I believe that the COVID is over for him.
At Safe Mart, it's a Safe Mart. Come to Safe Mart and be safe.
Safe Mart is a proud sponsor of Food is for Eating with Waspy Soda Pop. Today's special, maggot noodles, $5 a bag. Come get some at Safe Mart. Be safe.
Food is for eating. Food is for eating. Food is for eating with Waspy Soda Pop.
Hey everybody, this is Waspy Soda Pop. I'm back and healthy. I just got over a case of the China virus. The way I handled it, I drank some bleach and I tossed one of the UV lights down my butt, and it fixed everything. But right now, I got a brand new recipe for you. This is maple bark steak. You're gonna love this. It's so easy to make. You get 2 tablespoons of butter, soften it, divide it, 1 teaspoon of minced fresh parsley, half a teaspoon of minced garlic, 1/4 teaspoon of reduced sodium soy sauce, 3/4 of a pound of fresh maple tree bark, 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, 1/8 of a teaspoon of pepper. That's all you need. Like I said, it's simple. The directions are even easier. First, you want to mix 1 tablespoon of butter with the parsley, the garlic, and the soy sauce. Sprinkle the maple bark with salt and pepper, In a large skillet, you heat the remaining butter. Apparently the China virus still getting me. You heat the remaining butter over medium heat. You add the maple bark. Cook until it reaches the desired doneness. For medium rare, thermometer should read 135 degrees. Of course, if it starts smoking on the ends, you might want to just pour some water on that, put that out. And then you just want to cook it about 4 to 7 minutes per side and serve it with your garlic butter. And there you have it. Oh, it's so good. Some maple tree bark steak. You're going to love it. Your family's going to love it. It's good for your teeth. Dogs, too. All right, I'll see you next time, everybody. This food is for eating. Okay. Back from the dead, apparently. Back from the COVID. Hey?
It was so weird when you said, "Oh, it's about time for Waspy Soda Pop," and literally I was thinking, God, I gotta pee. Like, it was like, yeah.
Why don't you pee before the show starts, Greg?
I do. And then I still have to pee again.
That's because you drink so much during the course of the show that's forcing you to go to the bathroom.
Probably.
And considering your alcoholism is causing you to fall into your tubs while you're sleeping and
No, that's why
destroying your eyeball. Yeah, whatever.
That's why sleep apnea. I never fell from drinking.
Yeah.
So I had sleep apnea really bad.
Okay, well, that doesn't mean there's not a first time there, Greg. You think it might not be that, but, bodies change as life goes on.
Sure, and as my apnea got worse, all of a sudden I started falling over.
And so you make it easier for it by drinking heavily all the time.
Could be.
But how did we lose Brendan? Brendan is now gone. Did you
taking a shit?
Did you infect him in some way?
With my tiny bladder.
Your bladder crossed through Zoom and made Brendan go use the bathroom as well?
Oh, here he is.
Oh, yes.
I did have to go to the bathroom. It took a little longer than I thought.
His high fuzziness has returned.
It sounds like a title. His Lord High Fuzziness.
I feel like I'm getting further and further away from you guys. Like I'm in a spaceship heading, south of Earth.
Fuzzier, I think.
You're on the big sex spaceship on your way to the planet of the sex-crazed alien women is where you're heading.
Lucky bastard.
Excellent. I need it.
But that does not bring us to the next segment, which is, of course, time for everyone's favorite legal advice person. That's this guy right here.
He has an opinion, may not always be right. He's a real fake lawyer. He's old and he's white. Ask him a question, 'cause he's a good egg for bogus advice. Ask Greg. Ask Greg. Ask Greg.
Yes. So this is the perfect time, this perfect opportunity. Brendan, do you have your list of questions from all of our listeners who have legal questions for Greg?
Let me take a look here.
Okay. And this will give the guys from the Happy Hour News Team time for finally to give us a question to ask Greg, a legal question.
Choose between the 800 you got.
Yes, exactly.
Ooh, all I gotta say is there's a lot of questions from the Quibble verse in terms of questions, but this one I got most recently from Colorado.
Oh.
Dear Greg, it's been about 7 years since my child left the home. I'm looking at the whole situation and what he has become, and I've decided to opt for an abortion. However, I live in a state that doesn't allow plus 18-year-old abortions. I'm wondering if I could get special dispensation in the state of Oregon. Yours truly,
Mrs. Pettick.
Susie.
Post 54 abortion. Well, in Oregon, it's not that hard because in Oregon, we're we're in the bubble, super liberal, fucking communist shit. We love killing babies in Oregon. We just want to kill all babies. So we're so pro-abortion. So, yeah, we'd be like, go ahead. But in red states where they really hate abortion, and as we all know from the recent news stories, they're doing very well on that front of getting rid of abortion. As long as you're over 18, as a child is a criminal of some sort and gets incarcerated, they'll be all for it there. Yeah, death penalty or postnatal abortion, whatever you want to call it. So they'd be very happy for that if they were, I don't know, jaywalked once or did some crime.
All right. Excellent response, Greg. I have one for you. So, dear Greg, if it's been proven that the aliens are finally here en masse, does this mean... What?
En masse?
Yes. Does this mean that finally all of the people who have been anally probed without their permission can file charges for alien rape against all of those aliens that are now arriving?
It's going to be hard to prove. I mean, because usually the aliens give you knockout drops or whatever, they knockout pills. They hit you on the head with a club, and you're kind of out of it when they probe you. Most of these guys don't have clear memories of being probed. So it would be hard for them to identify these aliens in a lineup, if you will. And
if you will.
But they'd have every right to. If they can identify, yes, that is definitely against the law to anally probe someone.
So then we would have to create like an alien sex court.
Yeah.
Right, to get the rights back for all of those who are involuntarily anally probed.
Yeah, it would be like a big thing. It would be like at the in Helsinki. It'd be like a big tribunal. Because there's been a lot of probings over the years.
Well, that's where the international courts all, but I think if we had aliens, there would have to be another city on the planet where the alien courts would have the interstellar courts would take place. I think that city could possibly be Duluth, Minnesota.
Duluth?
Yes, I think that would be a good place for...
I would think they'd feel more at home in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. They'd probably be more like, this is more our speed.
Did you say Fort Lauderdale?
Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale. How do you say that? Lauderdale.
Just not Duluth, okay? Not Duluth.
No, Duluth.
I've been to Duluth. You don't want to go to Duluth.
So it's a very sedate place where the aliens would be like.
You've been out on the boundary waters. You get out there. You row out. No, don't do Duluth.
Yeah. So I would love to be a judge on those probing trials, though, just because you get to see a lot of good videos and stuff.
Really, what videos do you think you'll be watching on those?
I'm sure some of these guys use their iPhones when they were getting probed and said, "Look, here's my evidence."
I'm
getting probed.
But what do you think you'd actually be seeing, Greg?
I don't know.
You'd be seeing where the probes go in.
Yeah, the guy can hold the phone over his back while he's getting probed. Look what they're doing to me.
And that's what you were looking forward to seeing.
You wouldn't want to see that? Come on.
I wouldn't.
That would be pretty engaging viewing.
I don't want to see anything go into anybody's backside.
But if it's an alien probe,
it depends on who it is.
No. For me, I don't want to see anything go into anybody's backside. It's just, I'm still of the opinion that's an exit, not an entrance.
Yeah, I'm the same
way. But are we talking about forcible as in a punishment?
I think these guys don't want to be probed. Usually the probings are like, they didn't ask for it. It wasn't consensual.
They didn't ask for it?
Well, they were wearing some very, hot.
They're like
overalls.
Provocative overalls.
Yes. And straw hats.
You're just blaming the victim now, Greg.
I'm sorry. I guess I am. But I mean, when you wear overalls with no t-shirt under, it's like, it's like lingerie.
I'm sorry. Cleophas was asking for it. He knew that day he went outside, it was going to be his turn in the loft.
He was looking for something, looking for some action. Hey,
it reminds me that Sanchez El Dorado often is wearing overalls, and I think that he could be an easy victim of the alien.
How come Brandon doesn't get a chair at the table here at the loft?
I think it's because they can't see him because he's like Bigfoot. He doesn't really exist.
I don't really exist.
It's weird. It doesn't recognize the fuzzy.
Yeah, see this.
We'll put him on a wall.
Look, it's an
Now-
impressionistic painting of Brendan. It's impressionistic. Me and Matt are photorealistic.
Yeah, no, I'm some
Renaissance
sort
art.
of like Renaissance art. Like,
And you're impressionistic. You're like Van Gogh.
Okay. Well, that brought us to a very distinct standstill of conversation.
oh, hard stop.
I don't know if this
so-
Ask Greg segment is helping anyone at this
Well,
point.
we've already completed Ask Greg because we.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But for future, maybe we should find another segment.
Why? I think
Well,
that's I think it's a perfectly fun segment. I enjoy it.
Yeah, no, it was fun. You know.
It keeps us with our theme, since we are a fake law office and you're giving fake legal advice.
Yes.
I mean, I'd like to come up with some things ahead of time, so I don't have to try to come up with it off the top of my head. But
Well, everyone has the option here to prepare, knowing what we do
Oh.
every single week. But so
I'm not complaining. I'm just saying.
I would like to say, though, at the World Probing Court in Helsinki, there will be reparations for all probing victims, and it'll just be a lifetime supply of Ben Gay
Ben Gay,
and lube.
that's an interesting combination. One of them is a little more inflammatory than the other.
Doesn't Ben Gay is Oh wait, Ben Gay's the thing you put on your muscles, huh?
It is, Greg.
What's the thing that you if you have hemorrhoids or something? Is that Ben Gay?
That'd be like Preparation H.
That's what I meant to say. Sorry.
Like
That's the reparations for these probing victims. Lifetime supply of
suppositories.
Yeah,
So you have a lifetime supply of suppository for what they did to you inside.
and they get 40 acres and a mule.
and
Every
And
probing victim.
Can they
depending
pick-
upon the size of your probe, you could also get a lifetime supply. Depends.
Yeah.
Do they get to name the mule though, Greg, or is it forced upon them the name of the mule?
Gleep Glop, some alien name.
No, you can't use Gleep Glop again. You
Stinkle-
used that once before.
Dinko Farb, the mule. No, they can name that mule. It's their mule. You can name it whatever you want. The aliens don't get to name the mule.
Well, maybe that's like part of the deal. Like, yeah, you get this reparation, but we name the mule. We're the ones who have that right. You don't get that right. You can't even
Well,
use
that
a
would-
nickname.
Oh, fine. I'd have a mule with a silly alien name, like Boba Fett, if they so deemed. I'd still have a mule.
I think Boba Fett is just a form of antihistamine. In case anybody was
Why are
wondering,
we
where-
talking about mules again?
we weren't. We were talking about Boba Fett, the
Reparations.
antihistamine.
Oh, Boba Fett is not an antihistamine, but
It is. It's like Sudafed.
no, Sudafed was in
Boba Fett, Sudafed.
next.
Yes.
Yeah, Sudafed was in Deep Space Nine, and was the captain of that Aurelian ship. That was Sudafed, or Commander Fed, as he was called.
And he went to war with the Cardassians.
Yes, who were an evil, just serpentine, cocksucking bunch of people. It's just gross. Don't even want to have anything to do with it. Does
Well-
anyone find that Pete, what's his name, has any talent at all? The guy
Pete-
that's on Saturday Night Live? Pete, what's
Pete
his name?
Davidson?
Davidson. That guy is not funny. I actually sat down and was like, okay, I'm not going to be judging on this little piece of shit. So I sat here and watched all of his, like, or at least a few of his, like, YouTube videos, his jokes. Like, this guy is not funny. He's not funny on Saturday Night Live. He must have a dong that drags on the ground. That's the only thing I can think.
Is he the young one who's always getting into like news stories? He's always causing trouble. Like
He's the
dating-
one whose father was killed at 9/11. And so he does a lot of his jokes about the fact that his father doesn't exist anymore.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's real bad. It's real dumb.
Yeah, he
That's
gets
something.
kind of dark, but I mean, I can see the humor in some of the things that he says. But it's a
Well.
different sense of humor these days. Like sex talk isn't as funny as it used to be because it's more into the regular conversation. So now they go into things that are a little more into the hidden crevices and evilness of our minds.
You guys ever watch like Tim and Eric type stuff? That shit is just like, I like it, but it's also just like, this is just making me feel bad about humanity and life. Like,
Who is Tim and who is Eric?
they're like the Adult Swim. It's that kind of humor. It's a thing now. It's like they started this thing where It's disturbing comedy, where
It's like, I think it's called the Tim and Eric show. Good job, awesome, or something.
Super Fun Power Hour.
Oh, is that on Netflix?
Well, they started on
Well,
Adult
no,
Swim.
it's all over YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, they were Adult Swim. Adult Swim. Many of the shows had that like disturbing comedy where it's like it makes you feel icky. Almost
it's
like
kind of
Larry
like
David.
Eric Andre's show where
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
where you're like, is this funny because you're just being an asshole to people?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
Kids love that now. All the people like I know who are in their 20s, they're just like, this is the funniest thing ever. And I'll watch it and I'll be like, I don't know.
I think we can
Something
blame
like that.
Jackass for that sensibility coming into play, over the last 20 years.
Jackass is real old though.
Well, I know, but I'm saying that it influenced
They were
future
pioneers.
generations and brought us to this stage, of humor. It's like the ultimate abuse and toilet humor. Because there's a brand new Jackass movie that's out right now on Paramount Plus, which I watched. It was Jackass Forever.
I gotta say, I've laughed at Jackass myself. I've laughed. It's made me laugh.
I have that. There's a lot of cringe moments for me there, and there's a lot of ones where I'm like, God, you guys are just dicks, But it's kind of nice to see the director get hit once or twice in this particular movie because he tortures them the most.
Oh, is it Johnny Knoxville still?
Knoxville's doing it, but he's not the one directing it.
Okay.
And to give Knoxville credit, Knoxville has other people do a lot of horrible stuff, but he actually goes through some horrible stuff himself deliberately. I remember one of those old Jackass movies, I think it was the second one, where he, at the end of the movie, was trying to get as many takes as possible of him running into a stop sign. And he was just like hurting himself. I'm like, I don't understand this at all. I don't know why.
So
he was doing it for the laugh, but man, he was like doing it to himself. And this most recent movie, he got himself incredibly hurt by a very upset bull that he was in a ring with. And he essentially flipped like 3 times and broke at least 4 bones. And it's like...
we really got to blame for all this, though, even before Jackass, the Japanese.
I thought you were going to say Benny Hill.
They're sadistic game shows or just horrible things happen and everyone laughs.
I don't think that the Japanese game shows really infiltrated our culture that much, though.
Maybe slowly. Yeah. People saw them. A few people.
I think that was a more recent thing. That's like mid-2000s.
Yeah. I mean, there's that recent thing that was on Netflix, the Squid Game, I think it was called.
That's Korean.
Oh, it's Korean. Okay. So, I don't really know what they did in that movie because it
was good.
I don't really have an interest in watching it, but...
No, it's really good. And it's not just torture porn. It actually has a really strong message behind it, like social message.
Really? What was the strong social message behind Squid Game? Great.
You'd have to watch it, and then we could discuss it.
No, you just said there's a strong social message.
Yeah,
you should be able to sum it up in a sentence. Sum it up in a sentence. Use your words. Use your words,
I believe we
Greg.
did 50 minutes ago. Rich versus poor.
Oh, is that what it's like? Basically, like the Osterman weekend or something, where
I don't know what that is, but
the rich go hunting the poor. Is that essentially what that's about?
No,
not necessarily, but that is the thing.
It's a different take on it. But
some people are so poor they'll be willing to be just like murdered, have the chance of being murdered just because they're so pathetically have no chance of life because of the way the system's set up. And these sadistic rich fucks just want to see poor people kill each other and get murdered because they're so decadent and rich,
Oh, so it's just like the Colosseum.
Yeah.
Modern day Colosseum. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, there we go. There's your message.
But it's really well done. You should watch Squid Games.
Yeah, I don't really have a desire. I still don't have a desire.
Me and Brendan give it 2 thumbs up. Like Clint Ebert.
That's great for you.
I watched it. I haven't watched a single Jackass, and I wouldn't watch.
I don't watch it.
So, you can sit there on your high horse about whatever, but you watch Jackass.
I don't have a high horse about the game. I just don't have a desire to see it.
That's a social message.
That you told me what the social message was. So
I know you don't like it.
I got it. I got the social.
You don't like things with social messages.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I want social complications is what I want.
Yes.
I want things that are socially unclear, like Brendan's picture.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean,
That.
on top of just talking about what aliens we want to fuck, like what's actually going to happen?
Hello, ground control. It's me. What? Hmm?
What will actually happen when the first sentient alien finally lets himself be known and says, "Hey, we're here. Hey, Earth people." Like,
Well, remember
Clock
that movie? Many. It was like in the '70s with David Bowie, "The Man Who Fell to Earth."
Yeah.
And what happens ultimately is he gets killed because I'm trying to remember how the movie ended.
He kind of kills himself though. He just becomes addicted. He starts drinking and taking drugs, and
Yeah, he just gets really drunk and he's partying and he's watching TV and screwing that girl. I don't think he killed himself intentionally.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking about. Well, I read the book, so maybe I'm confusing the two, because in the book, he dies in the end, or he goes blind at the end because they force him to remove his contact lenses that have kept out like certain rays of light, like UV rays or something, and they go to use that on him, and they like blind him, I believe, in the end. I guess it's at the end of the book, not in the movie. So I've confused the two, I think, is what has happened.
Yeah, I don't think that part made it to the movie. It's been a long time since I saw that movie.
Yeah, it's been a really long time.
I certainly don't remember them taking out contact lenses and burning his eyes out.
Yeah, that must be from the book then. So there's actually now a TV show called The Man Who Fell to Earth that has just started airing on Showtime.
What? Get out!
I know.
I
won't watch it. I won't watch it. I refuse.
Yeah, well, you don't have to. Like I said, it's a TV show, and it's actually pretty interesting.
So you've seen it?
I've seen the first episode.
So is it a sequel or it's a reboot where they're telling? It's
a reboot, and they're doing it their own, Showtimey way. So I'm sure it's not. I don't remember it being like I'll have to watch the Bowie movie again to get a real clue for it, but it's using a similar concept to it, But since it's a series, it's going to be stretched out obviously a lot longer than what the movie will cover, what the movie covered, And so far, no sex with the alien that I've seen. So, but I'm sure it could potentially happen because he's connected to this female scientist, and they're supposed to be doing something together. That's kind of what happened at the end of the first episode. So I think there's going to be some kind of romantic liaison of some kind.
Or at least some naughtiness.
Potentially. I think it's a real potential for that to occur.
Yeah.
So the real question comes down to all of our listeners out there, all 1 million of them. Are you ready to have sex with aliens? Are you ready for alien sex? Are you?
What about surfing with the aliens? Do we want to surf with the aliens?
I think I am. I think I'm ready for it.
I think only Joe Satriani is.
I knew you'd get that reference. That was the dorkiest reference I could come up with.
I was trying to go, where did that come from? I'm like, was that a movie? Was that? I'm like, oh yeah, that was the freaking Silver Surfer on the Joe Satriani cover of his album.
Somehow they got the rights to have the Silver Surfer.
Supposedly Satriani is in the talks to replace Eddie Van Halen in Van Halen these days.
Van Halen's still around?
The band is, but I mean, Eddie died, and so you thought the band would end, but they're looking at bringing Satriani in.
That's pathetic. They're millionaires. What the fuck are they doing? It's like, you have enough money to live the rest of your lives.
Well, the Who is still touring too.
Yeah.
That's kind of sad too.
And I've learned why. I've learned why they still tour. It's because Pete Townsend has an incredibly expensive hobby. And so whenever he needs money for his hobby, he goes on tour to get the money to fix his yachts. That's basically why he goes on tour.
He doesn't get enough from royalties of all those songs to fix his yacht.
Like I said, he needs to raise millions of dollars for his hobby.
What a fucking moron. I'm such a loser, but I feel like 10 times smarter than Pete Townsend right now. I'm like, what a fucking idiot. Relax. Enjoy your life.
About my generation.
Yeah. What an idiot.
People try to put us down.
Well,
real punk rock there, Pete Townsend.
I think he's allowed to not be punk anymore once you get to a certain age.
That's fine, but how many yachts do you need, and how bad?
I'm refining my punk. Fuck that shit.
I'm actually going to see the Who when they come to town. I'm looking forward to it. Even though there's just 2 of the original members left, so
Wait,
I
who
want to
is it?
see what I want to
Daltrey?
see Pete Townsend take advantage of my money for his yachts.
So it's
Well,
it's
that's
just
good.
Townsend and Daltrey, right?
And Ringo Starr's kid is their drummer.
Yeah, been for a while.
And Pete Townsend's brother is in the band too now.
As the bass player or second guitar?
I think it's another guitarist. Yeah.
That
I
sounds
don't
so
know-
sad to me.
I don't know who's
Sorry.
playing bass though. Yeah. But I figured I've been a fan of the Who for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna see their last gasp before they croak.
I saw there's one of my favorite punk rock bands from the classic 77, 78 English thing was Stiff Little Fingers, the Irish band. And I got to see them.
Yes.
I got to see them 4 years ago. And they were great. It wasn't pathetic. It wasn't like the songs were slowed down. They still the guy could still scream out. And it was still so sad. It was still just like, this isn't the time. I mean, even though they were amazing, but it still was sad. And I'm pretty sure the Who at this point are going to do my generation that well. It's going to be sad, bad.
Well, I don't know what's on their set list at the moment. So
Yeah. When I was living in DC, our mutual friend, Matt,
yes.
and I drove to Farmville, Virginia, where the University of Virginia or some offshoot, I don't know what it was. There was a
Farmville.
college
You mean like Charlottesville?
No, Farmville, just
It's actually
outside.
called Farmville. Okay.
It's called Farmville, and it's outside of somewhere else, some bigger town. Anyway, we went there, and it was the Ramones.
Okay.
What year is this?
This
What
is the
year?
late 90s.
Yeah, late mid 90s.
So CJ
Yeah,
Ramone with CJ.
Yeah, I think so.
I like CJ.
But-
CJ's pretty good.
But it was still, when you were saying sad, it was sad because we went in
Yeah.
there and there was not as many people as should have been at a Ramones show. And it was in this weird, common area where people were just also sitting and sipping coffee and reading a book. And they come out and they're like, we're the Ramones. And I'm like, oh my God. And then they started, playing, and I'm like, holy shit. That was the one and only time I saw the Ramones, and it was very sad. I left and I was
Did
like,
they sound
no.
good though? Did they even
Yeah, they
sound
sounded great. It was
they sound
Ramones.
great.
Yeah,
So
it was great.
But it was
The
just
acoustics
sad.
of the place, the acoustics of the place sucked, but they sounded good.
But it was just a sad thing. So of all of these bands, not the ones we're mentioning, but of all the bands, which of them would you think are actually aliens that are visiting
David
us?
Bowie was. David Bowie was
I don't think he was. I don't think he was a quintessential Earthling. Is David
no, but
Bowie.
that was a thing. There was almost a rumor when I was a little
Well,
kid.
yeah, the whole
People-
Ziggy Stardust thing. But
little
I'm not-
kids would actually be like, I think he's really an alien. It was almost like an urban legend. That's how dumb we were,
yeah,
as little kids.
Marilyn Manson.
Marilyn Manson is an actual alien. He may be. That could be a good one, just because of the eyeball thing.
Well, he was the guy, he was on Screech, right? On Saved by the Bell. So we know that
What?
that's Marilyn Manson was that kid Screech.
I'm assuming you're joking.
This is a real urban legend. In the 90s, people would say that Marilyn Manson,
No.
some kids would believe it. They'd be like,
No.
that's Screech. That's
Yeah,
that guy
no.
Screech.
No.
Marilyn Manson's
No,
not Dustin
no,
Diamond.
Screech-
That was a thing.
Yes. And I think Dustin Diamond recently died.
Yeah,
I
a
don't
couple
think
years
he's-
ago.
Yeah, of something, cancer maybe.
I don't know. It's
What
like
is that,
some-
Screech?
after his porn career.
Yes.
Yeah, that was another
was-
rumor. Yeah,
Well,
he
that
was
wasn't a
porn
rumor,
star.
Greg. That was true.
He was?
That was real.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that
Yes,
was real.
it was real. He was in. I don't know how big of a career it was, but it was at least a couple of movies. Just like what's his name, Lorena Bobbitt's husband, John
Oh, yeah.
Bobbitt, was in a couple of porn movies. That'll go back to the '90s for people, and the slicing of penises. Anyway, so I think he was an alien because apparently it all got put back together again.
Do you guys know Zoltar X? Have you ever heard of this band?
No.
They were some people call them proto-punk. It was 73. They were this band that dressed up all sci-fi. They made their own alien language that all the songs were in this made up language, and they were supposedly like these aliens who came down to make glam rock, proto-punk glam rock for the.
I think of
people.
any band, like an overall band that would be considered maybe an alien band, would probably be like T-Rex or Queen.
You think so?
Maybe, because they dressed like they could have been aliens.
Like they didn't know how to dress like normal humans.
That's right. They wore like the fringe and the spandex and the shiny silvery costumes and those things.
What about the
not? I was going to say not Parliament and
Parliament.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I think that's a good call.
Afrofuturism.
yeah.
Not Taj Mahal. Who's the guy I'm thinking of?
What's his face? Who's the crazy jazz guy?
Africa Bambaataa?
Him too. He was kind of into that. But who's the famous Sun Ra?
Oh, that's
Sun
the one.
Ra.
That's who I was trying to think of, right?
Yeah, Sun Ra.
Or Bootsy Collins, for that matter.
Yeah, all those guys.
He could definitely be an alien. All right. Well, and then they could, have sex with whoever they wanted at that time, and I'm sure that they did. Anyway, we have gone the distance on this particular topic, on this client, which was, are you ready for alien sex? Do you guys have anything further you would like to conclude our time with? You just want to say to people?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be glad to hopefully come back from the dark side of the moon next episode.
You'll get the Vaseline
my
off your
stuff
camera.
Yeah, everything arrives tomorrow, and I should be looking much clearer.
Nice. Although this has been kind of fun because it's like you were one of those guys on those TV shows who's giving like information that you could get.
Or like a mafia informant.
Exactly. Thank you for using the
Yeah.
words that I could not come up with, Greg. You were like one of those guy things that has the whatever thing. So
we
you
should
can't
have.
be. No,
we should
they
have altered
are.
his voice. When you edit this, can you alter his voice to be like, "My name is Brendan."
Oh, we're getting trolled by the guys at Happy Hour News Team on YouTube. They say, how does one communicate with the QSB law universe? And then they say, leave a comment, and they will respond within 5 to 10 business days. Apparently, I notice it too late. I don't.
Yes.
Maybe you guys should pull this up on your phones while we're doing this so that you can see the comments, because I can't always look at it. I have to go between screens to see what shows up on YouTube. So...
Oh, I see what you're saying. You mean while we're doing this now?
Yeah, well, I mean, in the future, while we're, because we stream live, you guys could notice if there's a question from Happy Hour News Team, because they're the only ones who are asking questions or making comments.
Those little fuckers. So, are they on YouTube? Is that where the comments are?
Yeah, they're on our channel on YouTube, which is
okay.
Law
So I just
Offices.
need to.
Yeah.
I guess I need to log in to be a moderator on comments.
I don't know that you'd have to
Or do I just
moderate it.
do
You
it?
could just watch them and see if anything came up there, and then we could just comment on them when that happens. I could type things in if we needed to, but we're not doing a lot of typing because we're responding directly during the show. All right. Well,
You got
that's
it.
something for us to work on in the future, is how to coordinate dealing with commentary. And
Before we go, though, I just wanted to say,
yes,
less than a month from now, Quibblies.
yes.
Matt sent us a list where a lot of celebrities are coming back, like Luke McCullough, my childhood friend.
He
Luke.
definitely wants the return. Your friend
Excellent.
Luke.
Wise is going to talk to us yet again.
Wise is doing pretty well with YouTube. He's getting he's picking up steam on his show. So we got to give him
Good.
credit.
Wait,
Yeah.
he's the one who has the
Good.
sweatshop of children who watch the show. Is that wise?
Yeah, that's what he's got.
No,
Yeah,
that was
he's got
the other guy.
Oh,
That was
other
the
guy.
pipe man.
Oh,
That was pipe man.
no,
Yeah.
no. I thought the pipe man was the sleazy guy who had the television internet network.
No,
Yeah,
you're
he had
thinking of-
internet radio is what he had.
Yeah, but why?
You're thinking of the guy that had the window washing business that was also a psychic.
I'm not thinking of that. I'm thinking of Wise is the guy who has all these children from various moms who watch his podcast to build up the numbers.
Oh, you're thinking of
I-
Billy Skeels.
Is that
That's
who did him?
yeah, you're thinking of Billy Skills, the
I
guy.
don't know. I'm out.
He's the guy who took his shirt off when we had him on.
Yeah, and we had the highest ratings from that show
And it's still like one of our highest rated shows.
because he forced his kids to all watch it.
I don't think he forced his kids to watch it.
He put them in a closet and said, "Watch this."
He's actually got like 3 TikTok channels too, and he has quite a bit of a following as well. So, we can't actually say that it's his kids who are doing it, but he hasn't responded yet if he'll be able to attend.
Okay.
So we don't know about him.
Well, Greg's poured so much hate on him. I don't.
It's not a hate.
He does pour hate on the guy. I like the guy. I think he's an entertaining fellow.
He's a character, yeah.
He's a character.
It goes back to his bullshit hillbilly comments from earlier.
Oh yeah, that's true. Greg's
Whatever.
elitism.
Shut the fuck up, redneck.
That's right, redneck on the dark side of the moon, motherfucker.
Yeah, the South will rise again. Woo!
Yeah, can't wait to go over this one. I want to know what you guys were talking about when I left the building.
Hey, is it true that Rebel Yell, nobody knows what the Rebel Yell sounds like? Because it was never recorded. So nobody really knows. Apparently it would terrify Northern.
It's actually an
the northern
unintelligible version in a really thick accent of "Who Took My Banana."
That
So
other
that-
Billy Idol song.
That's what the actual Rebel Yell is.
Nobody really knows what the Rebel Yell is. They talked about it. They would terrify
Well, we're not going to
North.
talk about it now. We're ending the show right now.
No,
but
I
it's
thought we were
words
doing
to think
aliens.
about for the next time. People, if you're interested, look up where the actual Rebel Yell is. I wanna thank you all. Thank all 1 million of you. Yes, we basically ended with 100 likes on TikTok. We didn't get any more. So thank you for everybody who's participated and watched and who stayed with us for this long. And
Avatar Woman, I'm coming for you.
now
Avatar
the live
lady.
streaming. So, oh yeah, don't forget, buy our merch on our website, qsblaw.org. June 15th, 5 o'clock, we'll be live streaming the 2nd annual Step Up to the Bar Association and virtual banquet for the 2nd annual Quibbly Awards. And if you're able to get on our show between now and then, you will get a Quibbly Award of your own. But we're not really doing guests these days, although I have some requests to do that. But that being the case, thanks for watching, folks.
Thank you.
Your consultation with the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker has ended. You may pay your retainer at www.qsblaw.org. Please exit to the right of the water cooler and grab a candy from the front desk. We hope to see you again soon, but you need to leave now. I said leave. Why don't they ever listen? Get out! Get out!